Some of my all-time favorite films, and perhaps some of yours, take place in space. Space can be slightly misrepresented in a few ways. For instance, all of the explosions and lasers flying past your favorite characters wouldn't be nearly as audible as they are in the movies. Sound doesn't travel in space. The vacuum of space has zero air. With no air to vibrate, there can be no sound. With that being said, imagine yourself on a one-man mission into space. You're isolated in a small cockpit with nothing but yourself and the metal in between you and the vast emptiness of space. And suddenly, you begin to hear a knocking sound that seems to come from neither the inside or the outside of your ship. For Yang Liwei, this became a sinister reality. On October 16, 2003, Yang Liwei manned the Shenzhou 5 during a 21-hour mission, making him the 241st person in space. Everything had gone according to plan, and Liwei was excited to be China's first astronaut into space. Liwei's rocket took off from the Inner Mongolia, and within 10 minutes he was orbiting Earth. Not many people can fully imagine how Liwei felt once the engines cut off and the gravity drifted away. He is surrounded by a deep quiet and a sense of calm void, while he begins his work before he inevitably heads back to Earth. Something strange begins happening. Out of nowhere, a metallic knocking noise begins eerily pulsating through Liwei's spaceship. Fearful that something may have hit his capsule or broke something loose, Liwei does his best to investigate the sound. The knocking continues as the astronaut checks his instruments for any kind of malfunctions. There are no leaks or depressurizations. The spaceship is fully intact. All readouts on the ship are normal, and Liwei's adrenaline begins spiking as the sound continues. Liwei couldn't fathom that perhaps something is outside his ship, trying to get in. Maybe the stress of leaving Earth all alone is getting to him. Could this all be in his head? Liwei keeps a level head and doesn't let his stress show when talking to Mission Control. He knows that if he ever wants to fly again, he'll need to be careful what information he shares. The knocking would continue for the remaining 21 hours of the Shenzhou 5 mission. He steers his ship back into Earth's atmosphere at around 17,000 miles per hour. Liwei successfully lands his craft and is back on solid ground in the Gobi Desert after an excruciating 21-hour mission into space. He keeps quiet about the knocking sound from his peers, fearing they would find him mad or crazy. However, this doesn't stop him from becoming obsessed over it. He initially assumes it's some sort of thermal effect. His capsule is subjected to incredible amounts of change in temperature while orbiting the Earth from either the blazing sun or the freezing space surrounding his capsule. Liwei begins conducting private tests in his lab to try and answer the question of the unknown knocking. He took materials from his craft and subjected them to countless tests over the years, but unfortunately wasn't able to recreate his experience. After finally speaking out about his creepy encounter to his peers, he was stunned to learn his successors during the Shenzhou 6 and 7 missions also shared a similar experience. Yang Liwei was relieved that he wasn't alone anymore. He had colleagues who shared his interest in what the source of the knocking really was. He continues to warn further Chinese astronauts of the knocking sound and assures them that it is a normal thing and not to be worried. What's interesting is that this isn't the only occurrence of astronauts hearing things they shouldn't be able to in space. During a test flight for the moon landing mission while orbiting the moon in 1969, on the far side while being cut off from radio contact from Earth, astronauts heard an odd sound they couldn't even begin to explain. A type of whistling sound was described as space music and was held classified until around 2016. Later space missions would go on to capture similar space noises. An Apollo 10 transcript had one astronaut saying, "That sure is weird music, while the other replies with, "We're going to have to find out about that. No one will believe us." Thomas P. Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young were the three chosen to lead the Apollo 10 mission. Both Stafford and Cernan hopped into the lunar lander while Young stayed back in the command module. Once the lunar lander was on the far side of the moon and the two astronauts were alone, that's when they began hearing the strange music. The exchange is as follows. "Ooh, did you hear that whistling sound too?" "Yeah, sounds like, outer space type music." "I wonder what it is." This is what they heard.
You want some more brownies? No. First little hungry. That music even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? You hear that? That whistling sound? Yeah. Woo! Look at your... Yeah, it sounds like, outer space type music. Hey, Tom, is your insulation all burned off here on the front side of your window over here? Right? Yeah. Mine's all burned off. Heading out here, where are you, John?
In his book, Carrying the Fire, Michael Collins explains he had heard a similar sound when on the far side of the moon during the Apollo 11 mission. He claims that NASA radio technicians confidently explain it away as radio interference. The sound can happen when radio waves interfere with the transmission of other radio waves passing through the same path. However, some are skeptical about this convenient explanation. This is because Collins' book came out in 1974, and the official transcripts weren't officially released until 2008. This led many to believe that the music the astronauts heard may have been covered up by NASA. NASA followed this up by denying a cover-up. They simply had no way to get them out to the people without access to the internet at the time. I'll see you on the other side.